Applause for everyone here. I'm gonna take my mask off because it's gonna fall anyway. So yeah, my name is Sam. My name's Sam Skinner. I live in Worcester. I'm a proud member of the Independent Socialist Group. I go to school at WPI. And you all know why we're here today. George Floyd. One drop in a bucket that goes back 400 years. Black men, women, non-binary folk killed in the streets, killed on camera. When justice comes, it comes too late. When justice comes, it comes at the price of hundreds of thousands of us putting our bodies on the line in the streets. In the past week, the United States government, both parties, showed that they would rather beat us by the hundreds of thousands in our own streets than arrest four officers who murdered a man on camera. But now the killers have been arrested. There's a second-degree murder charge on the man who put his knee on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes. Does that mean we go home? No, because nothing has changed. Now, a lot of people have started to use the word, more than usual, systemic racism, and that's good, because we need to talk about how racism is systemic, not only in this country, but in this entire world. But what do people mean when they say that race is systemic? Because I think a lot of people haven't stopped to really think about that, because the demands that they are making don't go at the systemic roots of racism. The Democrats are demanding that we vote blue in November. They point the finger at Trump and the Republican Party as if that is the only thing to blame for what's happening right now. If only we had a Democrat in the Oval Office, they say, none of this would be happening. They brought out Obama to say kind words to us, as if we have forgotten what happened in Ferguson, as if we have forgotten. Not to say that the response from Trump and the Republicans has been good, far from it. Trying to label Antifa as a terrorist organization is nothing less than an attack on the rights of every American's right to freedom of speech, to freedom of assembly, to stand up for what we believe in. Our government will bomb civilians in the Middle East. It will overthrow democratically elected governments in Latin America. It will use chemical weapons on its own citizens. And yet we're the terrorists? We are the terrorists? But what is the Democratic Party doing? If the answer to all our problems is to vote blue, then we should be able to look at Democratic-controlled cities, and they should be peaceful utopias, right? Right? Minneapolis, Boston, New York cities, protesters put on the Manhattan Bridge and kept there by the police. The Democratic-controlled cities have resorted to ambushing their own citizens in the night with tear gas, rubber bullets, and pepper spray. How many of you were here last Monday? Raise your hand if you were here last Monday. Yeah. There are a lot of promises made that day, right here, right where I'm standing. A city councilor came out here and he said it with us. He said, Black Lives Matter. He said the city council stood with us. So what happened when we all left? What happened when people kept peacefully protesting in Maine South? They were ambushed, they were cornered, and they were attacked by the Worcester Police Department with pepper spray, with pepper pellets, with rubber bullets. Peaceful protesters, people just observing the situation, taking videos, were arrested in their front lawns. What was the city council's response to this? Did they immediately apologize? Did they come and say, we're going to help you, we're going to listen to protesters and make sure that this doesn't happen again? The next night, the city council went forward with a budget proposal to give an additional $250,000 to the Worcester Police Department. $250,000. This was after a 3-hour discussion of how our school system has no money, of how our school system cannot deal with COVID-19, about how our children should have to bring their own masks to school because the city will not pay for them. And what did City Council have to say about the police violence in Maine South? You're not going to believe what they had to say, because it was not nothing. It was worse than nothing. Mayor Petty said he was upset and disappointed with everyone involved, except, and he made sure to emphasize this, except the Worcester Police Department. City Manager Augustus assured us that once we saw the videos he had seen, we would support the police too. Well, I'm here to say, we've seen the videos. We've spoken to the people who were there. The police beat these protesters for standing up for their rights. So what do we want? What are our demands? What is the Independent Socialist Group working for? In the short term, we're demanding that firstly, the Worcester Police Department drop all charges against those arrested while peacefully protesting. It is not criminal to stand against oppression. It is criminal to sit by and do nothing. Secondly, we are demanding that the Worcester Police Department pay for the medical expenses of all those brutalized in Maine South. Using pepper spray on peaceful protesters during a respiratory pandemic is beyond vile. It is beyond violent. Thirdly, we are demanding that not one more cent go to the Worcester Police Department. Moreover, we are demanding that the Worcester Police Department be defunded and the budget be massively cut, and that these funds be moved towards our flatlining public education system, our crumbling infrastructure, fighting poverty, and transitioning to green energy and infrastructure. Lastly, we are demanding that the Worcester Police Department be made accountable to the people of Worcester. If you police us, then we can hire you. If you police us, then we can fire you. But how do we expect to achieve this? And I want to circle back to systemic racism. When we say that racism is systemic, we mean that the institutions that make up our society, from the top to the bottom, are essentially racist. When the criminal justice system disproportionately targets poor people, specifically poor people of color, specifically poor black people, that system is not failing. It is doing exactly what it was made to do. It is doing exactly what it was made to do. Racism and all other forms of bigotry have been sown into our society for hundreds of years to break the unity of a united working class and make us fight amongst ourselves. No one is born a bigot. Bigotry is cultivated in us by the system we live in. Racism, sexism, homophobia are systemic, which means that ending them will require systemic change. This means that the underlying economic and material conditions that allow these systems to flourish must be fundamentally changed. History has shown time and time again that the only thing in society able to make these fundamental changes is the combined force of a diverse working class fighting hand in hand against our oppressors. Only through the concerted effort of a united working class can we create a truly just world. Imagine for a moment an alternative Minneapolis. George Floyd is murdered, but in this world, the organized working class refuses to work until the murderers are brought to justice. A general strike is called. No buses, no restaurants open. All construction stop. Most importantly, all profits stop. When we stop, when the working people stop, society stands still. It waits on us, not on the millionaires, not on the billionaires. It's time to stop placing our faith into the two parties of big business. We need to organize the diverse working class of this city and this country into its own political movement and political party. We will not get true justice for George Floyd without a mass working class movement. We will not end systemic oppression without real systemic change, real socialist change. Now I want to end because this isn't the first time that we've had this fight, and it's not going to be the last time that we have this fight. And I want to circle back to a comrade who was murdered by the police over 50 years ago, Fred Hampton, member of the Black Panther Party, murdered in his bed next to his pregnant girlfriend by the police and the FBI. And he had this to say: He said, we're not going to fight fire with fire. We're going to fight fire with water. We're not going to fight racism with racism. We're going to fight racism with solidarity. We're not going to fight capitalism with black capitalism. We're going to fight capitalism with socialism. Thank you very much. If you'd like to get involved with us, Independent Socialist Group, our tent's over there. Thank you so much, Worcester.